in our culture, it's kind of something that we do with everything. We make everything really good or bad. What's fat? Fat's bad. You know, fat will give you heart disease. Fat will give you cancer. Fat will make you obese. You know, it's not true. We're always being cautioned that we shouldn't buy into fad diets. But the biggest fad diet of the last 40 years has been the idea that fats aren't good for us. Actually, fats are a very essential part of our diet. And it's really very little to do about the quantity of fats, and it's everything to do about the quality of the fats and the balance. So our ancestors ate plenty of saturated fat. In fact, when we look at the Paleolithic record, as we show in the book, you know, people today eat about, you know, on average, the same amount of saturated fat that our ancestors ate. But you know what's really changed? It's the ratios. So our ancestors ate a very different ratio of polyunsaturated fats. Those are the fats that we think are the good fats. They are the good fats, but there's two different types of polyunsaturates. These omega-3s that we all know we got to eat more of, and then there's the omega-6s. So what have we done? If you read a lot of nutritional advice today, we've made omega-3s the good fats, and we've made omega-6s the bad fats. And that's not true either, but they're way out of balance. Our ancestors ate a ratio of the omega-3 fats, what we call the good fats, to the omega-6 fats was a ratio of about between 1:1 and 1:4 of omega-3s to omega-6s. Today, our diets are like 1 omega-3 fatty acid to every 20 omega-6 fatty acids. And that imbalance is what's killing us. It's not just the imbalance, it's also the quality. So whereas we've demonized saturated fats, the real enemy, if we're going to pick a real enemy, it's these highly processed vegetable oils, which are almost all omega-6 fatty acids. You know, so like a lot of people, you know, growing up in the era I did, you know, I was taught that butter was bad and that margarine was good, these hydrogenated oils. And nothing could be further from the truth. You know, butter, you know, in balance with the other fats can actually be very healthful. And margarine is really a death food. It's not even really a food. It's a chemical concoction that didn't even exist before about 60 years ago. So there's actually some very interesting studies. I know this will challenge people's beliefs, but there's two studies I'd like to tell you about. One is about a study that was done cooperatively between two universities in Italy, a university in Idaho and Washington State University, where they put people on a small amount every day of cheese. It was a very special cheese called pecorino cheese. And the pecorino cheese is made from the milk of grass-fed sheep. And pecorino cheese, even though it's full of saturated fat, actually reverses heart disease. There's a lot of questions. Well, why does it reverse heart disease? Well, not only, it's probably not the saturated fat in general that reverses the heart disease, but a very special type of saturated fat called CLA, or conjugated linolenic acid, along with the fat-soluble factors like vitamin K2, vitamin A, and vitamin E that actually nurture us and make our heart healthier. And then here's another one that kind of blow your mind. There was a study in Sweden. It's called the Swedish mammogram study. So when they were doing mammograms on women, they also did these questionnaires, health questionnaires. So they looked at 60,000 individuals. And you know what they found? Is the more full fat dairy that women consumed, the lower their risk of colon cancer. So, you know, for years we believed, well, you know, and we were told, you know, by the kind of the medical authorities that we needed to reduce, if we wanted to reduce our risk of cancer, we needed to reduce our fat. Now, nobody actually believes that anymore, but somehow they've kind of generally forgotten to tell the public. So here's the idea. Let me give you an idea about fats. Fats is about quality. So when you eat fats, whether they're saturated, polyunsaturated, or monounsaturated, it's important that you get very high quality of fat. So if they're vegetable oils, they should be cold pressed and well preserved, so that they need to be handled fragilely. And if they're saturated fats, they should be the saturated fats from vegetable sources like palm oil or coconut oil, which can actually be very helpful. Palm oil is full of a type of vitamin E called tocotrienols that, guess what? It actually improves your cholesterol levels. And coconut oil is rich in kind of these antimicrobial, antifungal aspects and some short chain and medium chain fatty acids that are actually good for your heart. And then last but not least, when we eat saturated fat from animal sources, the thing that's really critical is how those animals were raised. So when you're eating dairy products from grass-fed, organic sources, it's a health food. Now, if you're eating, cheese made from cows in confined feeding operations that are fed grain, and then the milk is highly processed and chemicals are added, it's true, that's full of saturated fat and it's not going to be good for you, but it's not the saturated fat, it's the source and the quality. So we got to stop doing that. We got to quit making things good or bad, but kind of put it into perspective. It's about quality and balance. Saturated fats can be good for you. Polyunsaturates can be bad for you. They all can be good or bad for you depending on the source of the quality. So anyway, thanks for indulging me in that, because I think a lot of people misunderstand that, and it really has hurt us as a culture to have these misconceptions.